Well, hello and welcome to the first Monday of October. And welcome, I just had to check. Welcome to Material Musings. So this month I thought, oh, look at my Christmassy lights. They're here all year round just to bring cheer. So I thought this month what I would be doing is looking at stamps, and I will be interjecting some ways in which you can make your own. I did do the 100 days of foam stamps, so I do explain that for those particular foam stamps that I made, they were made from, the sleeping bag. It's the layer that you put on the floor before you put the sleeping bag down, and it's like it's a thin foam, but it's quite sturdy. And my son had back when he was very young, he in the garden he wanted to we had a little tent, and I think we put the little tent out there, but I didn't let him stay out there during the night because the gardens backed onto, there was like another garden, and then it was a street, and then you could potentially, where my neighbour hadn't had his fence, from our road you could potentially come down the passageway, because they were semi-detached, so you had two houses, a gap, and so each house had entrances that they could go to the back of their garden. Anyway, it's a long explanation, isn't it? So I never let him stay during the night, overnight, but during the day, you could go out there with a little tent and his sleeping bag, and just, I don't even think he did that. Anyway, so the foam that I had bought to put on the grass, I had it and he wasn't using it, so I started using it, and that's what I made essentially most of the foam stamps with. So this month it will be looking at, it's still Material Musings, but we're looking at using these stamps, the different variations of stamps, because now we're going to be looking at there's two different types that I make, or say three, and then there's the shop bought ones. And it's about, you've got all these resources. I used to use them for, and that's why it looks like this behind me. It's just like, oh my gosh, let me take them all out. So it's to look at all of these things that I originally used and have been using on paper. And when I was, many moons ago, I used to make homemade cards. Before I realised that I couldn't compete with the Hallmarks and all the other kind of companies, big companies that made cards at a fraction of the cost. But obviously you can personalise them. But it's just like I've got all these stamps sitting around, and I thought I would share them with you. And we're gonna look at some fabric. So it's a good time, look at some fabric in the sense of using them on fabric and then creating with them. There's no point them sitting there, and there's no point, I've got all this fabric that I've been saving for or just storing for dyeing, so fabric that I want to dye. I've also picked out some natural dyes from my fabric scraps, and sorry, what am I saying? From my fabric scraps, yeah, the fabric that could be dyed naturally. And so I'm going to just stamp up all of those, and they might as well be ready for when I want to use them. It's and then just stamps that you wouldn't necessarily think of using on fabric, and you may have these kind of stamps or not. So we're just going to spend a little bit of time this month looking at some of the variations, and interspersed with that I'll share with you some of the ones that I've made and how I've done it. And there's other ways in which you can create stamps, in the sense that it's about making marks on the surface. So you look around at what you've got in your home and think about, well, have I used this? Have I used this for the purpose that I bought it for? And what else can I do with it? So we'll do a bit of that today, and I hope that you enjoy. I hope you find some things around your home that, and even in your craft supplies. Like, I very rarely get these out, and these are all my kind of numbers, letters, stamps, and ones that I have bought. They've been on sale and haven't used them. So we're going to find ways of doing that, and as I say, marking up the fabric. And then you've got a resource that is actually really fun to use. And I think I'd prefer to have loads of fabric that have been stamped than have, like I've just found today, this was one of the things that you can put the letters on, and all of the letters on here are rotten, so I had to just take them off. They just disintegrated. So it was just like, if you don't use it, you will lose it. That is a very good example. If you don't use it, you'll lose it. Anyway, so let us get on, and I look forward to seeing what kind of things you have found to stamp with. And as I say, each week we're going to be looking at different types of stamps and using them on the surface. It's not an exhaustive list, it's just what I've got. So yeah, and I want to make the most of it. Okay, so let us get to the table. Okay, so what we're going to look at first is some of the surfaces that I'm going to stamp on. So this is fabric that I would normally dye. It's just a fairly thin cotton. It might even be a mix, I'm not sure. I think it was like you know, like the backing for one of these curtains, a sheer curtain. So you know, you can purchase squares of, you can use tea towels, you can use bed sheets, you can use whatever you have. So look first at what you've got, and this is what I've got. It's been sitting there, as I say, waiting to be dyed, and it doesn't mean that I can't add paint or other things to it when I get a chance, but I like to be able to prepare a certain amount of it's not even, it's just playing on surfaces basically. And if I make up a few of these, then with you know, things on it and play on it, then it's ready for me to use. Yes, I've got that. Now you may not want to stamp straight onto the fabric. I use the fabric as if it were background paper, but I've also got, which I will stamp on, it's just some tea dyed paper that I had prepared, and again, you know, it's then a nice surface that you can work on and create an effect, and it's ready when you need it. Okay, so the first one that I wanted to look at, and I think we'll stamp on that one, and we'll stamp on a bit of fabric and the paper. Okay, so the first one I'm going to look at today is, I've got a load of those office supplies. So I think one of my, where I used to work, I mean, you can buy these. So one of the places I used to work, the design department closed down, and they were just getting rid of a whole load of stuff. And I found these stamps, and at the time it was just like, oh, what can I do with those? But they're just date stamps, so, you know, I could still use them for date stamps, but they are really old, and they go back, they're at least 30 years old, if not more, but I very rarely use them, and you may even be able to buy them in the store. These are exactly the same. One says Oh, they both say received, or is that delivered? No, it's received. Anyway, so let's just, we can stamp with those. And then I bought, these were on sale, and I've had them for quite a while again. So I bought these, and what they have is sentiments on them. So it's got the sentiments here. Have a heart, cup of kindness, friendship is a gift, nurture, all you love, tried and true, you're too kind, true friend, you're a doll. And they're not really things that I would say. Friendship is a gift, maybe, nurture. And then this one is the days of the week and dates. I think it goes up to 12. It's up to 12. The months. Okay, days of the week. And then it's got weekend, winter, spring, summer, fall. Now, this is fairly old and fairly stiff. And as I'm turning it, the this seems to be cracking again because it's old. So this might not last very long. These things after a time wear out, and I'm tempted just to see if that will lift off, but I want to get as much out of it before. There's some of these I haven't used, and it's probably the same for this. It's very stiff, but if I can get as many of the sentiments stamped, then at least I've had a use out of it, and it's disintegrating. So the other thing that I had bought was this, which you can place your own letters on, and here are the letters. It comes in small and then a larger size font. Now even these are getting discoloured, and the ones that were on here that I had left had they were disintegrating, so I had to take them off. And then I thought, if I try and take any of these out, they'll probably just crack up. So how can I use these? And I will show you. And then the other thing I found amongst these things, see, they came with these small tweezers, so you could pick up the letters. So maybe I can use these to pick up beads or whatever. And then I also found these, which are like mini cartridges for something. I don't remember what my, it's like replacement ink. And then I was just checking to see if it was still inky, and it is. So you can still do mark making with some smaller, if I find some smaller stamps, I'll see what I can do with it. But it's already inked up, so we'll get on with those two, and we'll see what kind of effects we can get. And the other thing I had was so these are the natural fibres that some have been dyed, but they're still quite pale, that could potentially have like a date on it or a sentiment. Even these that you would, you know, they're thin strips, but I could put one of the sentiments on. So I'm going to just have a play around, and then we'll see what we've got when we come back, yeah? So I'm going to first do these just day stamps. So let's see if we can see what the date goes up to. It's not even moving. I think it goes up to it's like, it really is just the months and the days are fine, but I think it just goes up to 2009, and it's very grubby in there. It's just a red stamp. If I wanted to, I could replace the ink or add ink to this, you would add ink to this, and you can see how the inside is worn out. So if I can find the same material that they use here, then I can replace it. So I'm just going to put that back for now. So yeah, these kind of stamps, let's just try and get the date straight. Yeah, there's oh, I see what I've done. Yeah, so it only goes up to 2009, and what I did was place a bit of tape on it so that I could cover it up and use it. (76th of July). So I'm going to take that off because it doesn't really matter now, because I'm not really using it in that sense for, like, you know, in an office. So just take that off, and that might, again, because the sponge itself is a bit delicate, worn out, it's not stamping as well. And so it can still stamp on fabric, and we'll do this one. This one I kept the bit where it says received. This goes up to 2013. And the received bit has fallen off. Okay, it's no big deal. But again, yeah, so I can stamp on the fabric. The date now is, the received bit has come off, and it's just too messy to try and fix it. But I've got the dates I can put on, you know, I can put on some smaller bits of fabric. Let me see if this will work. You have to get it right, exact. So I can still, you know, use the smaller ones. So I don't really use them as much, but if I wanted to kind of look at, say, some vintage papers and look at adding the date, adding a, yeah, backdate it and all of that, then that would be fine. Okay, let's look at these ones. So this says, let's see what it says. Where's my stamp pads? So we've got You're a Doll. Yeah, so these ones especially because I can work on a small piece and stamp it. And you can make your own, like, little things that you could stitch into projects, or, you know, attach onto the front of a piece that you were working on. So that's cool. So I think, yeah, I'll definitely be going through, that's tried and true. So I could get a piece of fabric and then just do a few along here and then cut them out. And I think I like it on, say, the already dyed one. It looks more effective than if I just do it straight onto, you know, I mean, no, actually, it does. Even, you know, if you just wanted, you know, a nice, you know, piece on a white fabric that you could stitch or, you know, attach in some way. Okay, so that's those ones, and this is the one that it looks like it's breaking. It's going to break. So this says winter. So you could have like a long strip like this, and you could have one side that says winter, or what I could do is do multiple stamps along it, and then the other side I could put summer. Okay, so that's those kind of stamps that are really useful, and I'm going to definitely use again. So this one now, as I say, it is just random letters, because I've probably used up a lot of the vowels. So there's lots of numbers, and there's still a few left. But as I was saying previously, because it looks like some of them are foxing, where you get that interaction with whether it's metal or I don't know, but discolouring. It looks like it's rusting actually, but that isn't really possible because it's rubber. So I thought, you know, I'm not going to use these. But then I thought, oh, what if? So, come closer, my dear. If I take it like this and I just put it on the stamp pad and ink it up, let's see what we get, yeah? I mean, that could just be a background, yeah? So I could print up this and it just be part of the background. Let me turn it around. So I'm sure you've probably got things, it's like, I'm sure you've got things like this that you could just stamp up, and then, you know, again, you could bring in some of the, say, words or whatever. It doesn't have, you know, it could cover partially or all of it, or, you know, it could just be a background for, or, you know, make sure that you, say, maybe take a piece that was either stitched. So this is a little, they're just squares and circles stitched together, and they had been, I had used fabric markers on them. And so let's just get this inked up and we'll see. I didn't like it how it looked before. That's why it was just sitting on the desk, because I was just like, do I really want this? But that changes it, and then, you know, you can add other things. So I had, let me just show you, I'll have to show you these fully in a different video, but I'd made some shrinkies of my art foamies, and I could just attach, you know, whatever it is, something simple, something small, to a background that looks like this, and or add some additional stitches, and you're good to go. And even look on the, this is avocado dyed, you know, it does make a difference. And layering is really good, yeah? Ooh, so I didn't try this one. Let me try this one. This is the, it's capital fonts, but they are smaller. And as I say, I used it at the time quite a lot, but then I didn't. And you can layer your, you know, I can layer it over this. I'm just creating a background. This could be part of a collage, yeah? The start of. Okay, that's those ones so far. And I wanted to show you, before we go, Okay, finally, what I wanted to show you today, and we'll look at the rest next week, is this kind of foam that you can purchase. And it's just that thin foam, but you can make stamps from it. And I will show you how I've made some stamps. So, what you can do is you can, you know, obviously cut out some shapes and use them on the surface, ink that up and then use it on the surface. Or you can try and emboss the surface. You know, you do need a really sharp knife, but just use different, you know, tools to mark on the surface. I tried to cut in there, and the rest are just experiments. I tried to cut a shape out. So there's just the one layer, and we'll see how this works. I think because it's not in my main with all the other stamps, it didn't work as well. So I'll just see how this goes. Oh, it's not bad actually. Look at that. I think I'll need the brayer rather than using my wrist. But yeah, that actually looks alright. And I think what you find is that, just I'll try and give my brayer, this actually soaks up quite a lot of ink, so I could make quite a lot of impressions. Let me do it on the fabric, that'll be better. And let me do it on top of one of these, yeah? Let's see. Yeah, so we can layer those. Let's try this one. Right, okay. So we should get quite an interesting pattern with this. And let's do that up here. See, so just, oh my gosh. What? Just cutting it out. Oh wow, I like that. Just cutting it out of foam. You can see, you know, some designs that you think, oh, I really like the pattern. And you then just cut it out, you know, especially with that paper cutting. You can do it on this foam. Ooh, I think I need to go back to the craft store and get some more. Because, you know, this is, you'll never find this in the store. It's just, I was just doodling and then cut them out. But look at that already in terms of working on the fabric. And let me see if there's anything that comes off on here. Yep, see? Still quite a lot on there. And all I would do is just keep going on the surface until I don't get any more ink off, and then you've got yourself a background paper that is good to go. Or you might want to lay other things on it, but just from that one inking, I've managed to stamp out all of these. And yeah, so cutting it out and getting, you know, an image, or just doodling, like I've just doodled on this one. And I think one of the things I was trying to do was add paint and then use that as a stamp, but that didn't work as well. These ones, I think I was just practicing cutting into the foam. And I'm just going to see that this one that I did, see what kind of image I'll get on, let's say, got a little space down there. So it's just some lines I've cut in here. But yeah, we just want to see. Okay. Let's try and get it all over. Okay. Let me do it on the fabric first, because that's the one that I really want to cover. So I'll just do it up here. Yeah? So, some interesting ways in which you can work, and it doesn't have to be, you don't have to press too hard. Let me get some of this fabric that I've got in here. I'm not going to cut up anything. I'm just going to, as is, just add this to it. So if the stamp was more defined, you'd get a better image. Okay, so you can cut them up. The next thing you can do is layer them as well. If you find this is too thin, you can cut out the shapes and create the image. And then what I've done, like in this one, this is 2 layers, and I created apartments. So let's take another sheet of fabric there. And a sheet of paper. Yes. And we'll see what we get. Okay. So, as I say, it's 2 layers. You decide what you want to do. You might have seen something in the magazine. Again, I wanted to create some interesting houses, and I've done a series of them like this. So as I say, it's 2 layers, and let us show you. So again, some really nice, I think this would be really nice on a even if you did partial. Let's see, this is just, nope, can't use that. This is smaller than I would normally use, but let me just do it over the paper and this fabric. It's got some splatterings of paint on it. Yeah, so you can do small bits, you do partial bits. Now I can add it to the paper and just get off whatever's left. And I can use these as collage fodder, or I can, you know, cut them out separately. But I think they do look better on, whether it's a slightly inked surface. It's got more of a story to it in some way. It could be a, you know, there we go. Okay, so that's this layer. Let me show you. I've done one with 3 layers. And, oh, so that's the house that I did. And then I did a face. Yeah, so it's like 3 layers. and then I used a heat gun, not a heat gun, I used my wood burning tool to cut into it. You have to be careful, obviously, because you don't want to be breathing in the fumes. But again, just, yeah, get 3 layers, do the shape that you want. So I knew I wanted a face. And then this is really only going through the top layer, but I've stuck 3 layers down so that it's just got a bit of weight to it. And let me show you how gorgeous it looks on fabric. And I realised that. Okay, so I might not get all of it on here. I still haven't managed to buy a larger, well, I haven't found one. I would buy it if I found it, a larger stamp pad. But you just use what you have, make do, yeah? Make a do. Okay, so you might not get a good middle section, but ooh, as I said, the middle section, her nose. Ooh. Okay, let's try it again. It's probably very similar. Oh, it's a bit better. But again, it could be part of a design, you know, the background for a design. I could be adding other things to it. Yeah. Just, or like creating marks. Like if you wanted to create marks on the surface, that's a nice way using, and it almost kind of reminds you of jelly printing, because jelly printing you get the kind of layered look and all the things in the distance and the front, you know, the most prominent things. And in this one, like even with this, you know, using multiple stamps over each other, this one's a bit darker, and you know, working with it like that. Okay, and I would even, if this, I don't think it's got anything left on it. No. Okay. So, yeah, that's cutting out. So we've looked at a few. Let's look at what we've looked at. We've looked at just the office supply stamps. Will give you, you know, a nice look. We've looked at the ones that have got sentiments on that you can potentially use and, you know, make some nice marks on the surface. And then we've got the foam stamps that you can either use as a single layer, or if you multiple layers, you get some really nice effects, and you can create your own variations of different images, and don't discount the ones that you think, oh, this didn't come out too well, because the reality is when you add some ink to it, you get some nice looks. So yeah, that's those. Right. Yeah. So what I'm going to be doing is, what I thought would be a nice idea is, at the end of the month, I will take all the fabric that I've made and create something and use some of these, and yeah, we'll, you know, you can work on a project and, you know, do some slow stitching and, you know, using the supplies that you have, and some of the things that you may have thought, oh, I'm just going to throw that away. Sometimes you do need to just throw it away, but sometimes it's just like, no, even that can have a use. Look, it's got a button on it. It's got, you can undo the button. So what if you stitched that to a project and it could hold maybe some fabric by adding the buttoning it up? Isn't that cool? Or it could be a journal. You could create like a fastening for your journal. Anyway, so yeah, at the end of the month, what we're going to be doing is taking all the fabrics that we've been stamping with the stamps that I found in my supply, and I hope that you're playing along, and then work on a particular figure. I mean, you can do that anyway as you go along. You might feel, oh, actually I really like the way these look together, I'm going to use that. And then I've also got my papers that I've worked on, so these are going to be really nice for some art journaling projects. So I hope you join me, and I look forward to seeing what you create.